Hello, and welcome to the reading room once again. It's Friday, and another fundamentalist fails. And this one, if you haven't been here before, fundamentalist fails. We look at the sort of really weird and wacky and colourful things that fundamentalists do when they put out videos and they make claims and they say all kinds of things that just don't make a lot of sense. And they really do fail. Now, why isn't it Flat Earth fail? Why isn't it Flat Earth fail? Flat Earth fails, or Flat Earth Friday, or something like that. I don't know. I don't know if they're taken, number one. And two, I've noticed that every single time I do something on a flat earther, that they're a fundamentalist. They're really getting it from the Bible, saying that the earth is spread out and flat kind of thing, or something like that. So it kind of is a bit of overlap there. This is a request, by the way. Somebody put in the chat. Somebody did put in the chat that of my last one when I did CC that, hey, this guy may need some help, and I kind of agree. But at the same time, you know, we've got to be able to push back on some of the stuff that's going out there and sort of showing people why it is in fact dangerous to go down these rabbit holes of conspiracy and stuff. But with that in mind, I also think that maybe we should be looking at where his thinking has gone wrong and how we can put ourselves in a place where we think the best about things. We have more of a understanding of how people think and why they think the way that they do. I think that, and it is kind of funny because we've all had thoughts and things and things that we've believed that haven't been true and haven't been correct. And you're like, why did I think that way? And we've all been there. We've all said, oh, wow, I was totally wrong about that. And I probably should have known better. For instance, I'll give you an example. This is a small example, but I'll give you an example. My wife said, like, there's a corn chip in Australia. I don't think it's in America, it's in Australia, and they're known as CCs. Now she's like, CCs, these corn chips, and I've known about these for all of my life, and it only just clicked that CCs are short for corn chips. It literally never crossed my mind that, like, and I grew up with these things, and I never crossed my mind until this very day, and this is why I bring it up, until this very day, that CCs meant corn chips. I know, right? Like, it's just like, I sit back and I go, why did I not put that together? Why did I not make that connection? It's very small, I get that. Like, I get it's very small, it's not like something huge, but the whole point is that sometimes we don't make these connections, and not to beat ourselves up about it, even though we want to. Like, I feel kind of very silly. But so imagine when you think that the Earth is flat, like, and how silly you must feel. So you know, I do recommend a little bit of sympathy towards them. But my wife does love to see CC, and she requested I do basically see how he's dealing with the final experiment. If you don't know what the final experiment is, it was a guy called William Duffy put together a trip to Antarctica in order to see the 24-hour sun. And because the way that the world or the planet is, it has to be around the summer solstice, right? Essentially the time when the Earth is angled so that the sun is headed more towards the southern hemisphere. Has to be then. And we got a lot of arguments by people who do believe in the flat Earth. Things like, well, it'll never happen, or, you know, the sun will definitely set, kind of thing. We got all kinds of arguments of why it wouldn't work, or they wouldn't be allowed down there, like they wouldn't be allowed to go anywhere or do anything, or, you know, they would be, you know, bailed up in a complex and not allowed to actually do anything at all. So some representatives of the flat Earth side and some representatives of the globe Earth side went down there. Representing the flat Earth was people, it was Jeranism and Whitsitt, among others. I have never met Jeranism. I've certainly met Whitsitt. Whether he will change his mind is pretty unlikely, in my opinion, but, you know, he definitely, at least he told the truth, which is, you know, very good. I at least give him credit for that. But the final experiment, basically, both Whitsitt and Jeranism and the other flat earthers there, they had to acknowledge that it was a 24-hour sun that circled above them, just as the globe model predicted. Whereas the usual map that they use, the AE map or azimuthal equidistant map, the round one that you sort of are familiar with, that can't work. It just can't, because it would have to be the sun shining around the outside of it without shining in the center, because we know that there's 24-hour nights in the Scandinavian countries and northern latitudes. Now on a sphere, that works perfectly fine. If the sphere's angled, then the bottom part is getting all the sun, and the top part around here isn't getting any sun at all. They can't even see the sun because of the curvature of the Earth. It works, actually fits in beautifully. But on their flat map, it doesn't work. So if the excuses that are coming out are interesting, they are kind of hilarious. But yeah, and I want to you know, I want to give a big shout out to Andrew and yeah, much love, Andrew. Like, seriously, man, like hang in there, mate, and I really feel for you. I think that, and sort of on this thing, and you know, sometimes we got to wonder at how somebody gets themselves into this position, and how somebody gets themselves into thinking that everything's a conspiracy and everything's you know, people are lying to them all the time, and no scientist is ever telling the truth, and all of this kind of stuff. I think religion does have a lot to do with it. I think that sort of what's promoted is a distrust of the authorities and a trust of God. And to my mind, I don't know how you can do that and still have a productive life. We've got to trust in our fellow human beings, at least somewhat. And I'm not naive. I don't think the government is telling us all the truth. And I think governments lie. I think politicians lie. I think that, you know, you know, companies do horrendous things, and companies lie all the time. And I think we've got problems with the power structures that we have and the societies that we live in, and all of that kind of thing. But I think that religion really does breed this black and white thinking that we either trust 100% or we don't trust anything they've got to say. And I think that sort of mentality of all or nothing, I don't think it's useful, and I don't think it's accurate. So yeah, and it does concern me. It really does concern me. But I like to sort of maybe be a bit gentler with CC, I yeah, I don't know. I just, he's a bit of a weird one, and I do apologize. This one might be a shorter one, but we will go through it, and we'll look at CC, and oh, I already have it. Anyway, okay, I'll just keep it normal speed because it isn't too long, but yeah. Can you not? There we go. Okay.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you may be. CC here, Chris from New York, Westchester County.
I wonder, he says where he's from every single time, like his location. It's kind of very strange to me. It'd be like me sort of saying, you know, this is Mark from Perth, Shire of Stirling kind of thing. Like, well, why? I don't understand, why that location is really important. I suppose he's got a consistent intro. I'll give him that, but it's kind of it is a little bit weird. Maybe he's trying to sort of say, "Hey, I know exactly where I am." I don't know. It's kind of a little bit weird.
It's 12/20/24. Oh, well, the Globers finally got what they wanted, their 24-hour sun. This is all they have.
Well, since the chat is talking about mental health, and I want to chime in. I want in on this chat, and I think it's very important. And I think that I want to say, if you can come out and say, "Hey, I'm not doing well," if you can show that vulnerability, I admire you. I think the courage it takes to say, "Hey, I am not doing well." Now, full disclosure, I've been through a ton of therapy. I'm so I'm so thankful I got that. I think that there's kind of this thing that I've discovered as I've gone through a ton of therapy. This truth for me that our state that we are, our mental state, is not just I am one person. I am this person that is going through. We all have these different modes inside us, these different aspects of ourselves that at sometimes you can be so strong you can take on the world, and at other times you can be blown over by a small breeze. It's this play between the harsh sides of yourself and the overbearing sides of yourself and the vulnerable sides of yourself. That's really it's that conversation you have with yourself, that how you treat yourself, how you speak to yourself internally, that's really it's a difficult conversation, and it feels like you're insane, and that you're sort of making things up, and you don't feel comfortable doing it. And I think that being honest with yourself and talking with yourself is a huge thing. I was speaking the other day about how your brain is sort of like this amalgamation of systems, and like any systems, there's the left hemisphere concerned with logic and rationalization. It's critical and analytical, and it's detail orientated. And then the right side of your brain, which is intuitive and looks at big picture stuff, and sort of all of these different things. But I saw a music video I was obsessed with the other day, and I don't get much into music, and I feel like I've got to say something about it. It was a music video called High Ren, and I've never seen an artist portray, in my mind, the interplay between your different selves like that. It is a really, really accurate depiction of the sort of way that we talk to ourselves upon occasion, and the way that we beat ourselves up upon occasion, and sort of say, hey, because I come out of it, I talk to myself really horrendously, and I'll come out of a debate, or I'll come out of a interaction with someone and go, oh, that was terrible. You're terrible. You're so like, what even was that? I don't, the imposter syndrome, the idea that you're not good enough or not being enough, and you're not doing anything, you're not making a difference, kind of thing. And that it did remind me of something called schema therapy that I've done. And you have different modes, and you have the critical parent, the one that says, hey, you need to do better. You need to get up and you need to just get over this because you are, not doing good enough, kind of thing. And you have the real destructive one that sort of tells you that everything's hopeless and things like that. Real destructive modes of coping with things. But you also have the vulnerable child. And the vulnerable child is that place in you that is, well, it's vulnerable. It's small, and it sort of says, hey, but I'm a good person. I'm doing my best. I'm doing my best. And it can't fight against the critical parent or the destructive side of you. It can't fight against that, because it is the vulnerable side of you that loves and rejoices in the seeing something beautiful, and being in touch with that is a really good thing. When you sort of get that childish wonder when you see a beautiful piece of art, it's a beautiful thing. It's a good thing. And I think being in touch with that is really good. But what I've learned is that critical parent just beats up on it, just absolutely beats up on it. And that's where another mode, your healthy adult, has to step in and say, hey, I'm doing my best. I'm doing everything that I can. And sometimes that won't live up to it, but that doesn't matter. How much does it matter? That real centered place of, is what this inner voice actually saying accurate? Because the healthy adult part of me knows that, I absolutely did my best in that debate, and it is not the disaster that I want to berate myself for, right? It is not. It is absolutely not. And that healthy adult comes from a place of learning, developing, growing, while the critical parent is echoes of what you've sort of been, told a lot of the time. So I want to bring this up because that touched me so much. And if you have not seen High Ren, ignore there is a slight bit of religious stuff in there. It is, Ren himself is agnostic. It's really just for visual things, putting a name to what it is. Like, I would use my destructive parent as the voice of really trying to destroy me. He may call that, some other religious term, but he's actually agnostic. He doesn't necessarily believe in a God. So artists use these visual terms in order to get us to really visualize them. But one part of schema is actually sitting down as these different parts of your personality. Like it's called chair work, and you sit down as, like, I'm being the destructive parent now. Mark, you're an absolute freak that can't do anything right, kind of thing, right? That kind of talk, right? And then you sit down as the healthy adult and go, no, you may think differently, Mark, but you don't. That doesn't matter. You do your best, you try your hardest, you put so much effort and time and dedication into this stuff. You do what you can, and you try to help others as much as you can. And that voice will prevail. That is the voice that you listen to, because it is the one that's being rational and being objective and being, looking at things without that emotional baggage attached to it. So yeah, and okay, you don't have to do chair work, like I've done it in the past. I don't do so anymore, but I certainly have done in the past. It feels weird to sit down as different parts of you. It feels weird, right? It feels weird, but just having that conversation with yourself, saying, hey, is that accurate? But understanding that those things will be with you. It's just accepting them, sitting with them and saying, no, but you're wrong. You don't have to fight against them. You just need to realize that that part of you isn't accurately describing reality, and that's okay. But I'm not a psychologist. I've just done a lot of therapy, and to be vulnerable and say, hey, I need help, please reach out, please do. I'm here for you. I want people to be unafraid to say, I'm not coping, I need help, because I've been there. I've had to go for help. We all need help. And so, look, everybody, much love. Don't be afraid to reach out. It doesn't make you a horrible person. It doesn't make you a worse person. It makes you a better person. And look, I've been in a place that I couldn't even describe. I couldn't even describe how much I hated myself. I couldn't describe it. And to crawl out of that was a long, torturous, and just a process that took so long and was so much work. And but if you are there, don't give up. There's things that we can do to help, and if you do need help, please reach out. I am here for anybody that really needs it. I really am. No, not at all, Andrew. And I want to talk about it because it's really what you said has a lot to do with what the comment was about Chris needing help. And I agree. And Chris should reach out for help and understand maybe where he's coming from. And we like to laugh, but I don't want to be too harsh on him because I have concerns for this man. But let's go. Let's see what he's got to say.
This is it. Okay, they'll be gloating about this for months now. You see, it really doesn't mean anything. I have been speaking about it, and many other flat earthers have been speaking about it too, that there are multiple suns. But when we say that, we can look at it two different ways.
Multiple suns. It's not like that's the first time I've heard that, but I don't know how that would work. I don't know how that would work. When you sit there and go, well, multiple suns, and I've heard a certain Australian flat earther talk about everybody having their own personal sun. I don't understand that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't understand how that would work. It kind of is going into sort of a solipsism, like, well, everybody just has their own perspective and we can't prove that anything outside it is real. It's kind of like saying, when you say, but we both see the sun, it's both up there. He could possibly say, I don't want to put words into his mouth, but the whole thing is, well, how do you know that's the same sun? And it's like, well, we both see it. And if we're not going to trust our senses, if we're going to say, hey, our senses are lying to us, it's all not real, then what do we do? How do we engage with the world that is apparently around us if we're not going to at least say that our senses are real? I know our senses can be inaccurate. We all get that. It's why we've built tools to instrumentation, meters, things to measure stuff that enhance our senses, that they sort of make our senses better, right? You know, just at a fundamental level, you can't tell how long something is. We invent a ruler, it shows us how long something is. Basically, our senses can't be deceived by eyeballing it anymore, which is, you know, incredibly random sometimes. You know, because we've got rulers, we can tell, and just like that, we can, you know, I don't know how Chris would show that sun, what our senses are describing to us is not actually there, or I'm seeing a different one than somebody else. It really does sound like he is trying to say, well, there's a sun for everybody in Antarctica. It has to be multiple suns because it has to be flat. It kind of is that thing of starting with the conclusion and then, you know, changing the evidence to fit that conclusion, which it's incredible how much young earthers and flat earthers overlap in their arguments, or at least the spirit of their arguments.
In a digital world, I don't even think that's possible either. I think digitally you have your own sun. It follows you, just like the moon.
Digitally, you have your own sun. Digitally, you have your own sun. I'm not sure whether he's talking about in a simulation now.
I don't even think that's possible either. I think digitally you have your own sun.
Well, digitally just means sort of electronically or base 2 kind of stuff. Digits. I don't know what he means by digitally as a, you know, when applied to the real world. So, you know, I mean, you can use digitally in reference to your fingers, like your digits, like you digitally manipulated something, but usually it's in relation to electronics or something. So that you've got some kind of system that uses numbers to process things, essentially. So a computer system. You know what? I'm going to move my mic. I just realized I haven't had my mic in the right place. Why did you not tell me? Man, I did all of this talking and I forgot my mic because I'm an idiot. No, that's not true. That's not true. I just had a bit of a brain aneurysm today, and that's okay. That's okay. And there's that horrible self-talk, right? There's that horrible self-talk. Oh, I forgot my mic. I'm an idiot. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Of course I'm not. But there's that you know, critical parent, right? There's the person that beats you up. And it's not true. It's not true. I know that's not true. And that's okay. And that's going to come out sometimes, and it's okay. And yeah. And yeah, you know what, Andrew? I think we need to talk more about I think we need to talk more about mental health, how we're doing, be honest and vulnerable about how we're doing. And so it's really good. You know, I'm so thankful you brought it up. I'm so thankful. Yeah, that's really wrong, Andrew. That's horrible. I'm so sorry to hear that, mate. Yeah. Yeah, I you know. You want an open forum? Okay. Okay. On what? Well, I'll do the fundamentalist fails, but if look, if you know, I've got a Discord server. Link is in the chat. If you wanna talk, then I'm here for you. I really do. Mental health another day. Okay, gotcha. Yep.
Follows you, just like the moon. The moon follows you too. Okay. That can only be done through a reflection.
It could only be done through a reflection. I don't think a reflection would make the moon and the sun follow you. I think that if you have a reflection of the sun, unless whatever is doing the reflecting, like a mirror of some sort, is actually following you around, I don't think so. I really don't think so. So yeah. Oh, thank you, Razor. I really appreciate it. That makes me feel very, very soft and gooey inside. Thank you.
Now, in a computer game, you're not going to want to have all your resources make multiple suns. You want it to create reflections. So
no, reflections take more resources. Reflections take vastly more resources. So if you have sort of one, like for instance, if you have a game with water, for instance, right? You have water in a game. If you want to turn on reflections, like have the sun reflected in the water kind of thing, it takes vastly more resources than basically just no reflections at all. I'm not sure what he means. Yeah, that's a weird thing to say, because reflections are one of the things that does eat up resources. Like, so when you are programming something, for instance, you've got to calculate, do some calculations, especially with graphics, on where things will be for a player, say. Like you're just basically saying, hey, this is where to put the thing, so it is here. It is much harder to calculate an individual object for each player than have it set in one static place and then calculate what everybody would see. Because not only do you have to calculate what they'd see, you have to do it for everybody based upon a variable amount location of the thing. So he's actually wrong. Reflections and sort of personal iterations of graphics actually take more resources than sort of shared ones, right? Like, think of it this way: if so, you've got your MMO, right? Your massively multiplayer online game, for instance. Basically, how it works is you've got one side which is a client, and the other side is what they see in the place and what they're traveling through. The whole thing is that it's the same for everybody what the place is and what they're giving out. Because if you tried to do it for everybody individually, it would be impossible. You would have the person on their client with sort of tons of stuff.
We see as reflections, and that's exactly what you're looking for up there. Now, God created this.
We see what we're looking for as reflections. I mean, I suppose that you do sort of download the what the server is giving you kind of thing, but I'm not sure that's accurate to say, hey, that's what we see up there. I mean, if the sun and what we see isn't real and some kind of simulated reflection of somewhere else, then how do you know that everything isn't a simulated reflection of everything else? It's that leap towards, well, I'm not going to believe my senses in front of me, that is the leap towards solipsism.
And there's got to be a reason why God would make the sun go around like that in that one particular area in Antarctica. And there's something else I want to talk to you about Antarctica too. And some politics. I'm going to throw a little politics in there too, give you an extra bonus, because it's just complete disaster with these politics. Okay. All right. Now, God wants us to figure this out. He or she, whoever it may be. Okay.
God wants us to figure this out. Okay, so he's basically saying, hey, I had this idea in my head. I had this concept that the Earth is flat and that they would get to the South Pole and there wouldn't be a 24-hour sun, and you know, or the sun would set, you know, the sun would set, or it would be that they were herded off to somewhere and not allowed to go anywhere. As if you don't know, during the final experiment, Austin Whitsitt of Whitsitt Gets It sort of got up there and said, hey, we weren't corralled. We were allowed to go anywhere. We were allowed to go anywhere from there. It just, they had to survey it to make sure they didn't fall into a crevasse and die. And I think that's reasonable. But they said, hey, you can go anywhere you want. We just have to survey that place first to make sure there are no dangerous things there. Because, you know, they were trying to keep the flat earthers alive. like you do. Okay. So I'll go through it briefly, my understanding. Now do keep in mind, Kent, or Kent Speaks, I should say. I shouldn't call you Kent. So basically schema therapy is understanding that you have a variety of coping modes. You have these modes that you slip into that are all very distinct and they're almost like different people inside you. And understanding which one is which and where they're coming from is really important. So you have a vulnerable child, when you have that childlike wonder, when you have that, you know, deep love of things, when you find something wondrous, it's the vulnerable child. It's the youthful, playful innocence that we all kind of have, you know, or hopefully we have still managed to maintain. You have things like the critical parent that berates the vulnerable child and says, you know, you freaking idiot, like, or the destructive parent that sort of really wants to destroy that part of you, because you've got to be strong and you've got to be, you know, in there, and you've got to do this and do that, and you're failing, kind of thing. And that's not helpful. There's other things like the petulant child, which we slip into. You know, we get called something and we're almost childlike in our response, but it's an angry kind of child that goes, no, you're stupid, and we slip into that one as well. There's a whole load of these. It's like a bloody cacophony in there. If you really do pay attention to your thoughts, it's hardly just one person. And there's nothing strange about it. That doesn't mean that you have any kind of disorder or any kind of mental illness. This is what people are like if they are attuned to what is going on in their own head. That is just what we are like as humans. It's not my word, Jeff. It's you know, what I learned in the therapy. And keep in mind, I'm not a therapist. I'm not a psychologist. This is just my personal understanding. Just be aware of that. But we also have something called the healthy adult. It's the adult that it's the mode that we go into when we are centered, and when we, you know, it's sort of that mode that you go into when you are at work and you need to get stuff done. You know, you put aside that petulant child and you put aside that thing and you go, right, I'm gonna do work now. I have to, you know, put food on the table. And it's not that, well, you got to do this, that, or the other. It's, you know, this is what I do. This is the centeredness, the logical, rational, the place that we are coming from when we are. It's really the default state that we try to be in as adults. When we're not exercising our child to be silly and merry and things like that innocent child that loves to, laugh at fart jokes kind of thing, right? Or we're not being petulant because somebody cut us off and we're like, oh, this guy doesn't even know how to drive. What an idiot. That petulant child, it's the place where we go, okay, wow, this guy's in a hurry. I hope they're okay. That real rational adult. But all of these things that we almost have these conversations with ourselves, and understanding that those parts of you aren't meant to be, you sort of go, well, I'm just gonna rip out the critical parent and it's never gonna bother me again. That's not a thing. These are things that are you. They make you who you are. And even though it's not helpful, the coping modes, they're trying to protect you from things. They're trying to, even the one that says, hey, you're useless, they are trying to shield you from something. They're trying to help you cope with something. Like, for instance, disappointment. They're trying to, stop you from being disappointed. And understanding that and having a conversation between them. And it feels weird. It really does. It feels weird to have a conversation with yourself, but it's a conversation with yourself that is productive, that you can have, sort of saying to your vulnerable child, no, it's okay. Or the scared child, it's okay. Things are going to be okay. You're not alone in this. When we do feel scared and upset and vulnerable and lonely and all of these things, or the petulant child, like, come on now, we've got to be adult about this, and we've got to reasonably work our way through this. I found it incredibly useful, as well as a lot of other therapies like cognitive behavioral therapy, and acceptance and commitment therapy is another one that I found very useful, where you accept everything about yourself and you accept everything that's happened to you and commit to accepting that. You commit to, that will be with me and that's okay. A lot of the people, a lot of the times, I think, and some of the people that I've spoken to that had already been through it when I went through that, is they try to say, hey, no, that place of beating up on myself, I'm going to absolutely tear it out and throw it away, and it'll never bother me again. It's always going to be there. What we want to do is manage and understand it, let it say its piece, and then have the healthy adult come up and say, I understand that. That's my critical parent. It's trying to prevent me from being hurt. It's trying to get me to avoid doing things, or sort of avoid me getting ahead of myself. But it is wrong. Like it's not accurately describing things, because that's not what it's for. I've got to listen to that healthy adult, that says, hey, I can do this. A lot of the time, okay, so I'll give you an example. A lot of the time when I go into debates, I know I look calm in debates. I'm kind of always scared when the debate comes on. And that is the vulnerable child. What if they make fun of me? What if they, the sort of the scared child kind of thing. It's very vulnerable. So, what if I do terribly and fail miserably and make a fool out of myself, right? What if I completely make a fool out of myself? And then the healthy adult has to step in and say, no, you can do this. You have done this in the past. You are intelligent. You are capable of having these conversations. Things like philosophy and the things that you have read, you can do it. You definitely can do it. And what you're saying is not true. And at the end of the day, if I just go in and do my best, that is enough. That's enough. I don't need to do any more. I just need to go in there and do my best. And what happens, happens. It doesn't mean that you've failed. It doesn't mean that you're a failure or a terrible person or anything like it. You've done your best, and that's all you can do, as everybody else is. And that, listening to that healthy adult instead of the scared child or the vulnerable child. But listen, if you haven't seen, and I'll say it again because I'm obsessed with this artist. If you haven't seen High Ren by Ren, I have never seen somebody encapsulate these concepts as well. It is a beautiful and special thing that person has created. And you know, I'm sorry to bang on about it, but man, I actually cried. I won't lie, I cried at that. It was something special. Oh, that's really sad, Sterling. I'm so sorry. So I think, and this is my opinion, I think the flip side about that is that just like that critical parent never goes away, I think that the inner child doesn't die. You can't get rid of it as well. Allowing it to come out, allowing it to, it's time to breathe. Dressing up in a Hovind wig and being absolutely silly, you know, that is the inner child. You know, that's definitely the inner child. Doing these silly things, swinging on a swing set and just enjoying that for what it is. And then maybe your critical parent will go, oh man, you look like an idiot, you look like a child. And your healthy adult would say, well, so what? What does that really matter? It is that, you know, I don't care if people think that I look like a child, because I know that I'm not, and I know that I can be serious, and I know that I can be deep, and I know that I can be an adult. But that doesn't mean I have to completely ignore the child within me. And that's okay. That's okay. But yeah, I kind of, you know, I think, Sterling, that it'll never go away. I think that getting in touch with it is really healthy. But oh yeah, and it definitely does hide. Absolutely. Absolutely. But it's not gone. And you know, if you are worried about being judged, or are, you know, sort of all I can say is what helped for me was speaking to that child in a really calming way and allowing it to come out. You know, like I said, I did a lot of chair work, which is having empty chairs where it's just to visualize switching these people in your head. You know, it's just a way to, um, you know, it's almost like a technique to access those different parts of you. So we change chairs for the critical parent and the vulnerable child and the petulant child, and all of these different things we switch chairs for them. We actually have physical chairs there and switch them, and then speak from that part of us. It's weird. I know it sounds weird. It just is there to help you access these different parts of your own mind, which have their own different opinions. Maybe that would help, Sterling, but like I said, that's what worked for me. I can't speak for anybody else. Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Judgment is frightening. Jeff, I'm right there with you, mate. Absolutely. And that is the critical parent. That is the critical part of you that, and it's why I end my videos with be kind to yourself, because I beat myself up way more than anybody ever has before. Yeah, I mean, it worked for me, Jeff. I don't know about other people.
Us to figure this out at some point, or maybe God doesn't want us to figure this out.
So, and it's interesting what CC said here. He said that God made this 24-hour sun in Antarctica so we can figure it out. Oh, hey, Nitty, good to see you. Oh, no problem, Deviant. You know, I think it doesn't come up enough. And, you know, this song inspired me lately to talk more about it. And I try to talk more about it and say that, hey, you're not alone. And actually, there is one quote I do want to share with you. I can't remember who said it. It was Krishnamurti, Jiddu Krishnamurti. He was a philosopher from India. And what he said has stuck with me always. And he said that it is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. And what he meant by that was that, you know, we kind of know that our society prioritizes goods over people, money over community. We have this society which isn't really set up to make people flourish in the way that it probably should. I don't think I'm saying anything that we don't know there. Our society is not really set up to allow people to flourish like they should. And I don't think I'm surprising anybody with that comment. So, and sort of, I'm not saying, hey, if you're well adjusted to that society, then there's something wrong with you. No, it's just that if you find something wrong with society, with the way our systems are set up, there might not necessarily be anything wrong with you. Now, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not, you know, if you are having problems, please see a professional. But I think that comment has stuck with me a long time, just because a lot of the time mental illness is not that person has a problem. It is a person being in such a fucked up situation or such a fucked up environment, or just surrounded by, and that is the way that they have coped with it. That is the way that they have dealt with it. And even taken out of that environment or out of that, you know, whatever has triggered that, they still think in the same way. And so, you know, I really do feel that sometimes some of our inability to adjust to the norms, the rules of society, is not necessarily our fault. It's actually a problem with society. Look at me getting all deep and stuff. That's okay. Have you run into Berkeley's immaterialism with these guys? Just curious if they're original, if they actually read all. Come on, Wes, seriously, man. Like, asking if a flat earther has read, you don't actually have to put have they actually read old philosophy. They haven't read any philosophy, mate. I would say that the most philosophical thing that CC's probably seen is The Matrix. I would, you know. Berkeley wrote a piece on skepticism that was interestingly wrong. That reminds me of solipsism, just an immaterialist that thought everything was in the mind as our imagination. Yeah, and solipsism is definitely a very, very difficult one. It's sort of like, so we have a principle that's basically fallibility. If you're not aware of that, it means that at some point all knowledge fails, or it doesn't fail, it's just justification for knowledge fails. So sort of, there's something called the Munchausen trilemma. So everything sort of comes back to dogmatic assertion, circular arguments, or dogmatic assertion, circular arguments, or what's the third one? I've had a mental blank. Trilemma. Regressive. Oh, yeah. Ultimate sort of infinite regress. So basically, either we get justifications that go back forever, we use something that is circular, like, for instance, your senses show the truth. Well, how do you know your senses are correct? Well, you're relying on your senses. So that's sort of a circular argument. And third is dogmatic assertion. Some people call this properly basic beliefs, that, hey, your senses are right. That's a basic belief. Your senses describe the world around you. That is a basic belief. There's sort of a tendency for religious people to put God into those properly basic beliefs, but I don't think that's particularly useful, and I don't see why it should be a properly basic belief. They basically are trying to, because the argument that your senses are properly basic is sort of, well, you experience them directly, and people who are religious want to say, well, I experience God directly, and it's sort of like, well, do you? Like, you know, I don't know. I don't know. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, we don't. So comparing suffering. So when we talk about things that have happened to us, that's fine. It's when we sort of try to rank that suffering, when we try to say, hey, that suffering is worse than that one, kind of thing. That's the problem. So yeah, comparing. You're right, Viclet, absolutely right. We sort of do try to share your story without trying to say, hey, mine's more important than yours, because there's no way to know what's bad and what's good if you've never experienced it, and you'll never experience what someone else has been through, ever. Yeah, and Jeff, that's sort of the pragmatic approach. That's sort of one of the reasons why we do that. We sort of have to say, well, pragmatically, there's no other way to navigate this world that we're in. Our senses just give us information, and we don't really have any choice. And that's where solipsism kind of falls into this real sort of nihilistic, well, if you don't think that your senses are describing what's around you, then what's the point? Like, there's no point of doing anything. I think fallibility, and Karl Popper talked a lot about this, that we kind of have to use a blend of all three of these outcomes. So dogmatic assertion, we sort of say, hey, well, my senses are just there. They are just what they are. In, you know, circular argument, like, well, my senses do describe what my senses see, and that's the only way to get to it. And, you know, infinite regress, like, you know, my senses describe it. If I need a justification for that, it'll go on infinitely. It's kind of just, you've got to make presuppositions in order to work in this world. Look, I could talk about this for ages, but I'm gonna keep going. Wow, this Christmas I have tangented so hard. It's terrible.
I'm not really sure. I maybe God wants us just to live here in this digital world, or whatever world you want to call it, or whatever it be. There's a lot of traffic here in a fucking parking lot, for crying out loud. It's Christmas. All the trained rats are out shopping in the middle of the afternoon, you know, because they got nothing to do. You understand that? Christmas wasn't like this. Christmas was, you got.
You know what? I think that, I mean, really what I'm seeing from CC is a lot of anger over people are out in a car park around Christmas. You know, the rational part of me goes, well, why is that unusual? But what I'm seeing is, a lot of anger towards something that is perfectly normal, and he's not even driving. That's the really disturbing thing. I mean, could you imagine if he was driving and trying to get somewhere? and sort of say, hey, these people are rats. They're all just out doing this thing. So I think that, so every time someone or myself as well, every time I see anger, I try to think, I try to think what I'm afraid of, and I try to think, what is this person afraid of? Not what they're angry about. What they're angry about is just incidental. Anger is just a reaction to a fear response. It's the fight part of fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. It used to just be fight or flight, but we know there's other ways of coping with that fear response. But aggression is a trigger from a fear response. It is you being afraid of something. So the good question is, what is CC afraid of? I think he, it's hard to say. Only he could say. But at a guess from a layperson, I guess, I think that he is unhappy with the world. He's afraid of the world as the way that it is. So he gets angry about it, about the usual things. I think that he's afraid that, the materialism of the world, I can get on board with that. I worry about the materialism of the world too.
Got around with your family, you spoke to them, you had a great time, you sat in front of your dead tree with lights around it and stuff like that. It wasn't all about shopping and buying shit and what do you want for Christmas? What do you want for? I want that. It's fucking bullshit.
Yeah. So here we see the real anger. So, like a lot of conservatives, I think that CC is really afraid of things changing. But Christmas has been this way for a long time. I remember me growing up, and through the I don't know when CC was born. I don't know when he grew up. But I think he's afraid of. So we can get in our heads this really nostalgic picture of how things used to be. And nostalgia it's kind of editing the bad parts out of your memories, right? When you get nostalgic about stuff, you're generally just fishing out these memories that you have and just taking out all the bad stuff. You never remember, you want to remember the good. And that's a healthy thing. But this anger at, things used to be better. Were they though? Was the 80s really better, for instance? Was the 90s better? I don't think it was. I think that if we look at it objectively, there was still some horrible things happening there. But the question is, what is he scared of? And I think it is change. I think he doesn't feel like he can adapt to the world. I think he feels like the world isn't, there's no place for him in it. So maybe he makes up a world in his head, one where he is, he's an expert on the flat earth and where a God exists. I'm not saying that's the case. It's just one possibility. Only he can say. But this is sort of fear coming out.
And you're wasting your freaking money. Don't fall into the trap with these holidays. Okay? And keep your mouth shut. Remember, you don't want to be outside.
We don't want to be outside. I'm not sure why that is. Oh, yeah, Baron, absolutely. Yeah, no, I worry about consumerism as well. Sure. I think most of us do. But, we express it in a healthy way. We don't get angry at the people around us for shopping on Christmas. We want to express that in a way that isn't just what seems like insane anger at random people around us for just doing what they're doing. That's the whole trick. That when you are angry, you say, what am I afraid of? And how can I express that in a way that isn't just popping off at people? Because that's never useful. So yeah, I guess, never useful. Sometimes it is if you need to protect yourself. I get it. But, if you want them to change their behavior, screaming at them from a car park at Target is hardly a useful behavior. It's not going to make them not shop for Christmas, you know. Like, so is what your behavior doing actually going to get a result? Well, no, you're probably going to be locked up. So yeah, it's really worrying though how fast you went from, hey, there's people on the road and I'm trying to make a video, to calling them rats, to saying don't fall for it. And yeah, oof, wow.
Okay. So I don't know why that would be put there. Now, I have a couple of ideas.
Okay. Oh, let's hear your ideas, CC. Let's hear all about them. All about them.
I think God is saying, okay, you're here. You found it. This is the spot. Continue on your journey. You know, try to follow the sun, and then you'll eventually hit the dome, basically. Now, what I mean, the sun is a reflective object up there. It's not tangible. You can't land on it, and the moon is the same thing too. The moon does whatever the fuck. Where was the moon anyway?
Why would we want to land on the sun? I don't. Was he saying land on the sun?
On your journey, you know, try to follow the sun, and then you'll eventually hit the dome, basically.
The dome, right?
Now, what I mean, the sun is a reflective object up there. It's not tangible. You can't land on it, and the
well, we don't want to land on the sun. It's literally a ball of plasma undergoing fusion. It's going to, like, we will burn up long before we get to the sun. You can't land on it. Yeah, you definitely can't land on it, CC. I agree with that. I agree with that, but the moon's a bit different. Like the fact that he doesn't even understand that the sun isn't a solid body, that it is a plasma of helium and hydrogen, you know, hydrogen being fused into helium. I don't know what to tell you, but he sort of said, follow the sun and you'll reach the dome. The problem there is that we've been all around Antarctica. To prove it, if you've been there, you got me. You got me. We've been all around Antarctica. We've followed the sun, kind of thing. Like, there's no dome up there. We just come out heading in the other way up the globe. Like, we've circumnavigated Antarctica. We haven't found any dome. Sorry, CC, but we've done all we can to go all over Antarctica, and I did not. We didn't find a dome.
Moon is the same thing too. The moon does whatever the fuck. Where was the moon anyway, by the way? Why couldn't you see the moon? Well, I looked it up, and apparently the moon is only on the horizon right there at only certain times of year. That'd be nice if you could get that with the sun going around. I'd love to see that.
Something tells me you wouldn't love to see that, mate. Something tells me that you wouldn't love to see that. I think that you'd make you twice as angry, to be honest with you. So yeah, I mean the moon. I'm not sure what he means by the moon does whatever it does. We can track the moon. We can tell you when it will be a full moon, when it will be a new moon, when it will be a, you know, the crescent or whatever. Like, you know, what we know when it's waxing, we know when it's waning. Of course, it depends on your location on the Earth, but that's understandable.
But as usual, they are just going to gloat about this nonsense when the sun is basically a reflection.
Well, we're not. Okay, I do have to admit a certain amount of Schadenfreude that sort of said, hey, you know, I took a certain amount of pleasure in flat earthers desperately trying to cope with this happening. I admit that. At the end of the day, though, it's good that just that whole thing about you can't go to Antarctica has been debunked. There is no 24-hour sun in Antarctica has been debunked, and you know, the equidistant azimuthal map, the usual pizza map that we see, has absolutely been debunked. That's not true. Like, it cannot be true. But for him to just go, well, it's a reflection. I don't even know how that would work. but he also claims that everybody has their own sun, and I don't know how that would work either. I would love to hear more about how that works, but I don't think that he knows how it works. I think he is just saying stuff to just feel better about this belief that has to be true. And this is the problem with nesting beliefs on absolutes, right? So if and people said to me, oh, well, if the sun sets, you'll just make up an excuse. I was asked this in a debate. I basically I think it was Nathan Thompson. He said, well, if the sun does set during that time of the final experiment, will you accept that the Earth isn't a globe? And I'm like, well, yeah, you'd have to. And he's like, no, you'd just make up an excuse. And me and the guy I was debating with, a really good guy, Dr. Blitz, physicist, said, no, absolutely not. We would have to rethink the entire globe model. It would absolutely destroy it. There is no doubt about it. If that, our current understanding would be wrong. If we went to Antarctica on the angle that the Earth is inclined in and the sun set, that would absolutely blow the entire globe model out of the water. If the time was right, the angle of the Earth, the sun is where it is, the Earth is where it is in our model. If that sun set, we would absolutely go, hey, this is wrong, because that is such a big thing. But the problem with nesting your beliefs in absolutes is that CC obviously believes absolutely a God's got to exist, and absolutely the Bible describes God, and absolutely that the Earth has to be flat because that's what the Bible describes. So you have this problem that you can't convince him otherwise, and that's why the excuses, and we've all heard them before, the excuses of why these things occur are so kind of pathetic. It's because they're trying to justify it to themselves. They're not trying to justify it to you. They're trying to justify it and explain it to themselves. In that same flat Earth debate, I sort of brought up why sailing ships and cruise liners can go around Antarctica within 7 days or something. They can go around Antarctica and do a trip around Antarctica, and they're sailing ships. And they sort of said, oh, well, it's the wind. Okay, now explain the cruise ships, which are powered. And it's like, oh, well, that's the water. And it's just, it gets really pathetic. They're not explaining how that works. They're just making up reasons to justify their initial absolute belief that a God must exist. That they're not actually addressing what you have asked them. They're trying to justify their belief in a God. There can be exceptions, of course. I'm talking very generally, but generally that's what they're trying to do.
Hey, remember the fish bowls that we used to have at the circuses or whatever you go to,
Sure.
amusement parks or whatever? Then you used to throw that little ping pong and get it. That's basically what we're living in. Kind of like that. Now,
a fish bowl. Okay.
Let's put a light on top of it. Okay, or maybe just a couple of inches away. You'll see that the light reflects into several other sources around the bowl. It's the same thing.
What? No, that's not how that works. Like if you shine a light and it does get reflected all around it, you don't see one light from everywhere. There's just ambient light around you, and that's still that one light is there. You don't see just one source of that light in one position. It just lights up everything around it. That makes zero sense. That makes no sense whatsoever. Antarctica? Am I mispronouncing that, or are you trying to say that Noah is down there somewhere? Or maybe it's the Ark of the Covenant. I'm not sure. Maybe that's where they kept it. Yeah, so that isn't a thing that works, because we don't actually see an individual origin of the light reflected in the side of the bowl, what we see is just light there, like light that's been dispersed. We don't. I don't know how this works. It's very, very strange.
It's exactly. See, this is an amazing place that we live in. God wants us to use our mind. He wants to find out who the intelligent people are.
Antarctica? Not sure if it's the accent, but I thought Antarctica is how it's pronounced.
Shall we say, and the NPCs, we all know who those are. Those are the ones.
Okay, so I've talked about my dislike for using NPCs for people. It dehumanizes people. It's a very horrible term to use because of the way you're basically saying they don't matter. Nothing they do matters. They're not actually playing the game. Everybody is the hero of their own story. Everybody has their own perspective. And to sort of say, hey, yours are invalid is really, that's a problem. That's a problem. I can disagree with somebody vehemently. I won't say that they're an NPC, that they're not actually, everyone's playing the game of life. Everyone's playing the game of life. Oh, that's awesome. Antarctica. Antarctica? The third letter. You know what? Rosterman, get out of here. It may just be my accent, sir. I do have an accent. Don't tell anybody. They may notice. Okay. I know that everybody thinks I speak like a Midwestern pastor, but please don't tell anybody I've got a savage accent.
Shopping, going around just mindlessly, not knowing what to do anymore.
No, they're not. No, nobody's going around mindlessly. No one's sort of just going on autopilot. That's the thing. Your perception of that is in error, sir. I mean, yeah, they may not be thinking the way you're thinking, but they certainly are thinking. It's very strange to think that, oh, all of these people around me aren't real and aren't thinking and are just going around mindless zombies. I know we use that as a metaphor, sort of, zombies at the mall kind of thing, just doing their shopping. And to a degree, I get where he's coming from, that, hey, people should be more mindful of where they are and what they're doing, perhaps. But, I would never use it as, well, they're not real people. It's so dismissive. It's so dehumanizing. I really do not like that term because it does minimize people to background characters of your own self-absorbed story.
Where to go, or who they're going to vote for, or who's getting married to who on whatever soap opera that they're watching. You know what really pisses me off when I was at physical therapy the other day? They were all talking about something. I couldn't even figure out what the hell they were talking about. They were talking about someone getting married and why this one's cheating on that one. But I thought they were talking like real life stuff here. But no, they were talking about some fucking show that they were watching. I'm like, wouldn't it be nice if everybody was talking about flat Earth and all of us were?
I hate the way that people are talking about imaginary things that they've heard about on the internet that don't really make any difference in the world and aren't real. I wish everyone was talking about flat Earth. Dude, seriously? I just, like, I'm really sorry, but flat Earth isn't real. It's not a real thing. Oh dear. Oh dear. Like, seriously, I don't know what to say to that. Yeah, people get concerned about dramas and things like that. So I'm not much of a drama person, right? I don't get into a lot of, I really don't watch a lot of, 7-Day Fiance or, you know, reality TV. I don't really get into soap operas at all, but I've got no problem with those people that do. It's just escapism. It's just sort of the escapisms that we go into reflect. They have and they're an echo of the world. Art reflects life, or life reflects art. If you're an artist, maybe you disagree. They're just escapisms are just an altered version of the world that we can dwell in and escape from the horrible stuff in our lives for a little bit. And that's okay. In moderation, of course, everything in moderation, but that's okay. Some people like to watch 7-Day Fiance and talk about people that don't exist getting married. Some people like to go and talk about flat Earth. You know, they like to go and jump up and down and tell people that the Earth is flat. Only one of those two people that I've described actually think that their escapism is real, that it is actually a thing. So, you know, it's not your accent. You're not pronouncing the first C. Antarctica. Antarctica. Isn't that what I'm saying? Antarctica. I don't know. I am whatever. You know what? I'm not even going to concern myself. I don't care. That's how I say it. That's how Australians around me say it. So yeah, that's the way I'm going to be saying it. Deal in some way that makes you happy. Look, I'll look up a pronunciation guide. Okay. Oh dear. Okay. Share this tab instead. Okay. Are we ready? Are we ready? Are we ready? Okay. I want everybody ready. Okay. Oh, let's go the British pronunciation.
Antarctica.
Antarctica. How am I saying it differently? I'm so confused. I am so confused.
Antarctica.
Somebody please help me. Like seriously. Antarctica. You know what? You got me. I don't know. I'm so not I'm so not like musically I'm terrible, audibly I'm terrible. It's not my forte. So if I'm pronouncing it wrong, then I'm pronouncing it wrong. I will practice. Skeptics and Scoundrels, member for 14 months. So, thank you so much, mate. Let's just agree to call it Big Snowball. Yeah, sure, Eric. Yeah. Big Snowball. The K, you dropped the K. You can't hear it. No worries, mate. All right. All good. All good. Well, yeah.
Trying to figure out what we're living in. That would be a nice.
Oh, so Antarctica. Antarctica. Wow, now I'm sounding like a British person. I'll put the spelling back on American. Antarctica. Antarctica. Now I'm sounding like a weird person. See what you've done? See what you've done? clearly has schizophrenia. He thinks people are hurting him every day and doesn't seem to be getting any help. Man, that's difficult. That's rough. Yeah. I don't know. I would probably like get a professional's opinion on that. That's rough. That's rough. American pronunciation. I'm sounding like a weird person. Yeah, absolutely right. Absolutely right. I mean, you guys say aluminum. It's really, really weird. All right, really weird.
It's time. That time will come soon. It will. Simple as that.
Yeah, it's not though. It's not. Like, this is the thing. It's this belief that it's just about to take over. Ugh.
So let them gloat, let them enjoy themselves. They're finally going to get sick of it. We have.
Yeah, absolutely. Aluminum and color. And don't get me started on the imperial system of measurement. It's madness. Madness, I tell you. Madness.
So much stuff.
Oh, I missed a membership chat. Oh, I'm so sorry, Deviant. I was probably worried about Deviant Outcast member for 6 months says, stop bullying Mark for his speech impediment. No, that's fine. I'm all good. I'm really good. It's not a problem. I might play it up and sort of go, you know, I'm absolutely fine. Look, it is what it is. I'm not afraid to be who I am, and that's fine. And look, if my biggest problem is pronouncing Antarctica wrong, was that even better? Then I'm so what? What does it change? Does it change who I am? Does it change what I know? Does it change anything at all? Not today, my friend. Not today. Hawk tour girl. Yeah. I really don't get that. I don't think that's what they're talking about, Andrew, but that's okay.
Regarding flat Earth, no curvature, NASA lies. I mean, we've got so much stuff. I mean, why are there harnesses there? Why are there harnesses there? Probably crevasses and deep snow, and it's a dangerous place that you can fall in a crevasse and freaking die, Chris. It's not. Yeah. Why can't they just shoot a rocket off into space and have it go straight up, just like your amateur rockets do? They go straight up. They don't curve. And just put a fucking camera on the bottom.
Oh, thank you. Left-handed Jedi for $2. It's pronounced aluminium. Yep, I agree. And if anyone says I'm saying that wrong, I'm going to have an aneurysm. So the question that CC asked was, why can't they just shoot a rocket up, turned around, and take a photo of Earth? It's sort of like this. This is the blue marble. This is the picture, right, that they absolutely hate. This is the blue marble. This was shot from Apollo 17. It was taken with the South Pole facing the top, but they basically, as their way to the moon, they turned the camera around and they took a snapshot. He's basically asking for things that already has been done. Mark, right-handed Sith Smith, says, my aunt says washed wanders, so who cares? Yeah, Southern accent can say some stuff really weirdly as well. I don't mind a Southern accent. Southern accent's good. I like Kentucky atheist accent. It's awesome. Yeah, Miss Brown's aneurysm. Nice. Dear. Nice. Yeah, so that's the thing. They've done exactly what he's the taking a photo of the Earth from sending a rocket up. It's already been done. My friend.
Put cameras on the side. I want to see this go. I want to see the horizon disappear, and I want to see this fake supposed spinning wet ball disappear into a small little dot while this rocket exits the area.
Well, by then it's not a rocket. Like, you know, if you're talking about sort of a vehicle exiting the atmosphere and then going out into space, like a satellite or a probe is what we call it. By then they've dropped the rocket part, so we don't really call it a rocket. But we can get the last photo of Earth from, say, the Voyager probes, basically. Because Voyager are rockets that we sent out of the atmosphere, and then the probes continue onwards. They're there to probe. I have reservations about Voyager, just in the way that we've kind of put in a gold disc with our location in it. I don't think that's a very smart idea. You know, I really don't think that's a very smart idea. But there's a photo called the pale blue dot, and it's like the last photo of Earth from Voyager. And I'll share that with you just so we know what we're talking about. That is the last shot taken by the Voyager probe when we can, we doxed Earth. Yeah, absolutely. Planet Peterson, he's pretty good. He's pretty good from what I've seen. I covered a debate with him and he came on here. He seems pretty awesome. I don't know. Yeah, I like him. He seems fine. I haven't really engaged with him that much, but he seems good. I like him. Yeah. But I don't know a whole heap about him, I must admit. So this is the last picture of Earth taken by the Voyager probe, and that I'm not sure if it'll bring up my mouse. Is my mouse viewable? But that tiny little dot, that tiny blue dot you'll see just on the right, sort of just under the middle, in the sort of yellowish band. That's the Earth. That's the last picture that we could actually see the Earth kind of thing. Yeah, I you know, so what he's saying, I want to see it vanish into a dot. Yeah, we've got that. We've done that. I mean, the problem with doing something like video footage real time is that it's going to have to transmit all this data back. Like, for instance, the Voyager took the photo, but it's still got to transmit that to us, right? So because it takes so long to transmit, we can't really do a real-time video just because it has to communicate it. And we have to fit all this stuff on in order to do so. But yeah, we've done exactly what he's asked for, showing that, hey, the Earth is a tiny little dot in the universe. Sure. Oh, and Robin, thank you so much. Robin has gifted 1 readership. Really appreciate it. And that went to Jasper. Gets a readership. Winner, chicken dinner. Congratulations, Jasper. Enjoy your emotes and other benefits. Awesome. Thank you so much, Robin. That's wonderful. When Voyager returns. Okay. Okay.
They'll never do it. They can't do it because it doesn't exist. The highest rocket that we sent up there only went 73 miles.
73 miles. I don't think that's true. The highest rocket went 73 miles up. Really? I don't think so. I mean, is he talking about like the Kármán line where we sort of officially say that space has started? This is weird. Like a lot of watching CC, I'm getting to notice that we kind of, when I'm watching CC, I always go, where did he get this information from? Like where could he have possibly gotten this information from? Well, the Kármán line is 62 miles or 100 kilometers above the Earth's atmosphere. So is he saying that we've sent a rocket past the Kármán line, so technically it's in space? I don't know what he means by that. It's really weird. Like, that's pretty far up. That's like out of, sort of atmosphere in the beginning of space. So that's into sort of, outer space. I don't, it's kind of like, oh, well, we can't do it, but we did it. What? Cece, make it work. Make it work.
That's it. That's the highest spot it went, and it stopped.
Is he saying that, like, there should be a rocket stuck up in the sky? Surely someone with a telescope would notice that, right? Like that there's a rocket up there in the sky, just sitting there, stuck in the dome. Like, surely someone would notice. So he's basically saying, hey, look, get a telescope, find the rocket. Just a suspended rocket. Yeah, it hit the firmament. Stuck. Like a dart in a dartboard. It just stopped. Bullseye. I please demonstrate this, CC. Wow. Okay.
He's not even a flat earther, that amateur rocketeer.
The amateur rocketeer. Wait, that's hold it. I know this. I know this. Yeah, okay. So it's Mike Hughes. Yeah. So Mike Hughes was a guy that an amateur rocketeer that built steam rockets, right? So he basically built a steam-powered rocket, and unfortunately he died on impact with the ground when his parachute system failed. So he kind of didn't get that far up. I think he only got sort of half a kilometer kind of thing. He didn't actually get that far. I know that I did have a photo of him and Nathan Thompson together at one point, which is hilarious because they all say that he's not a flat earther, but yeah, really weird stuff. Really weird stuff. Just for a sec, just to sort of show you what I mean. So this is the man. This is the man. No, I get you, left-handed. It was kind of like that, yeah. But, I mean, he was trying to find and prove that he was right. So this is the man he says is not a flat earther. Do you see anything wrong with this picture? For a start, steam will not give enough force to propel you out of the atmosphere. It's just not going to happen. Steam is definitely not. And, obviously it was a guy that, didn't really have things. But the whole idea that a guy with flat Earth written all over his rocket and claimed he was going to find the firmament and find that Earth was flat. So much so that he wrote it on his rocket, is not a flat earther, is just hilarious. I mean, what? He absolutely was a flat earther.
What it stopped in, we're not sure. Could that be super cold water or something? I don't know.
It didn't stop. It didn't stop. It reached its highest trajectory as he planned. It started to come down as he planned, and the parachute system failed. The rocket crashed back to the ground. It didn't get stuck up there, CC. There's no rocket up there. Yeah, unfortunately, yeah. Unfortunately, he did. which was, sad, but he was doing something that was risky. We've got to understand there was risk involved, and it is sad that he died, but it didn't, like CC, it didn't get stuck in the dome. It crashed back to the ground. If it got stuck in the dome, we wouldn't have like Mike Hughes being taken to hospital to try and resuscitate him. And it's really sad.
I think that's what it is. All I know is what we live in is highly reflective. It's like a generator, basically.
It's highly reflective like a generator? How is a generator highly reflective? I mean, there might be some chrome on it, but what? I don't understand that at all. That's really weird. That's really weird.
God doesn't have to do anything. I don't even think there's a need of janitors.
Why did he choose steam? Because nobody in their right mind would give somebody who's trying to get a rocket into the air to find out the Earth is flat. Nobody in their right mind would give that man rocket fuel. There's no way. Why he didn't use some other source, I have no idea. No idea.
Around here, I think it's just a terrarium that we live in.
Maybe. But I mean, the solar panels aren't generally very reflective. They're designed to absorb sunlight, not reflect it. I mean, I suppose if you're talking about like one of those solar concentrators, maybe. Is that what he's talking about? You could be right. You are the flat Earth whisperer, Mark. You are the flat Earth whisperer.
It's just running on its own. It's gathering energy from all of these suns, all of these light sources, and it just continues on and on and on until the civilization disappears. Maybe it's a reboot. In the digital world, it would be.
A reboot in the digital world. Yeah, and this is sort of, who told CC about solipsism? Who showed CC the Matrix, all right? Fess up. It's not cool. It's not cool. He doesn't have the necessary equipment to process something like that. Poor CC. Yeah, no, I that's the thing about solipsism and simulation theory and all of that. It's completely unfalsifiable. It's untestable. And it can distract you from the here and now, like what's actually happening around you, accepting the world around you as it is or as it appears to be by your senses. So Wes, thank you so much for dropping in, man. Like, really appreciate it, buddy. Look, that's the thing about solipsism. If you question everything, if you actually believe in solipsism is a thing and that nothing around you is real, it seems paralyzing to me. I don't know why you would bother doing anything, and that seems terrible. So, I
mean, there's just so many things we need to learn. But I think God put that there for a reason, though. I really do. There's got to be a reason for it. And also with Antarctica, some of the weather apps that I have, there's one in particular.
Do you ever wonder why the weather apps can tell you how the moon, like what stage the moon will be in? Do you ever wonder that? Or is it that, hey, they've got a line to the people who have faked the moon and they're showing you, they're just telling you what phase they're going to have it on? Because
you can go in.
I believe from what I've been told by my wife, that is he works driving people around who are handicapped, I believe. I could be wrong about that, but I think it is a disabled kind of assistance, sort of minibus kind of thing.
And it's got this little asterisk when you go into like Texas or Tennessee or something, or Florida or whatever it be, it'll tell you exactly what the temperature is. And I always go down to Antarctica, and basically what it shows, his representation of Antarctica is just this big white, strip on the bottom. That's it. And then all these continents up there, because they don't know what to do with it.
Well, no, it's because nobody really lives there. So putting the focus of the world map on Antarctica is kind of stupid because nobody lives there. I'm much more interested in being able to view on a map Australia, where I live, or America, where you live, than Antarctica. I don't know why that would be a thing. I don't know why we would do that. And if you're sort of saying, why is it just a strip down the bottom? It's because we've kind of unrolled the Earth to show it on a map. Because putting 3D representations on paper, on two-dimensional paper, is kind of hard and not particularly practical. But I'm not sure if he understands that.
So basically, it's just this big white strip, and it's probably about, I'd say about, on my phone, it's probably about 1/4 of an inch thick. In width. But you go down there, and that gives you the temperature of what Antarctica is. And I always see, like, there's one area that's always minus 42 degrees. There's some areas by the peninsula that are like 34, 40 degrees. Not bad. It's like a ski day on a.
Is he talking about like Fahrenheit kind of thing? Is that what he's talking about?
Ski mountain, basically. 35 degrees, that's warm on a ski mountain. You don't even need a jacket. And when they were down there, most of them weren't even wearing jackets. So, but my point is, and also because they don't see any guns or military, well, they were chaperoned over there. Okay.
Well, they were told they could go anywhere as long as they surveyed the place first. Like, they have to survey it because there is fissures and stuff. I'm not sure if he actually saw that the flat earthers, Austin Whitsitt and Jaron, talk about their experiences there. They freely admitted, hey, they could go anywhere. They just needed to survey it first to make sure it was safe. They could go anywhere they wanted. They weren't chaperoned. They were given outlines of where had been surveyed, so it was safe. But if they wanted to go over there, they could. They just needed to survey it first to make sure it was safe. That's all. Because people die in Antarctica. It's a very hostile environment as far as humans are concerned. People fall down fissures and freaking die. It happens. It's not, it's like sort of saying, hey, they wouldn't let me go anywhere they wanted on in a scorching desert with no water. Well, yeah.
All right, they weren't flown over there on a private jet with somebody. Okay, they were.
It wasn't a private jet. It was just a flight. That's all. It wasn't a private jet. I don't think so anyway. I think it was just a normal flight over there. I don't think it was a private jet. It's just a flight. I don't. And plus, they went to South America first, right? They went to down to, I believe it was Chile first, and then flew from there. It wasn't like they sort of were ushered into some hangar and then weren't allowed to look around. They were like, they basically took a normal flight from an airport. Like, it wasn't. I don't know what he thinks this was. I don't know what he thinks this was, but it certainly wasn't some private plane in a hangar kind of thing. No, that's not what happened. Like, please do understand what the actual thing was and what the flat earthers said about what happened, because they were flying south from Chile. They knew they were flying south. There wasn't any other way they could go. They kept track of it. They had compasses. They were going south. That is a fact.
They're actually chaperoned over there. You have to stay in this area. You can't go out. But what are you going to do anyway when you get down there? I mean, you're going to have to go hundreds, maybe 1,000 miles to get to the dome. Nobody has the resources to do that. You have to go down there with a yacht or something. You have to have a helicopter. You've got to have something in order.
People have flown helicopters over Antarctica. I mean, I'm sure we can probably find some footage. Antarctica. You people suck. And now I'm going to be, you're right. I'm going to wake up and do that in my nightmares, Deviant. You're absolutely right. You can get helicopter flights. Helicopter flights over Antarctica are available on some expedition cruise ships and can provide a unique perspective on the continent's landscape. Yeah. Some cruises do offer helicopter flights. So yes, you can do this thing. You can take a helicopter ride. But the point is that I don't think anything will be enough for CC. The whole point was to get people down there who thought that the Earth was flat and thought that the sun would not set. It would be in this, it would set at some point, and show them that, hey, the sun does not set during certain summer times down there. It just revolves around the sky, which is exactly what happened. It just goes around the horizon, exactly as predicted.
In order to fly in the sky and get all the way out there and to get to the dome, it's possible.
The problem is you'd be asking a helicopter pilot, because I assume you can't fly a helicopter, CC. You'd be asking a helicopter pilot to fly until he hits the dome that does not exist. There's a problem there. Like, nobody's going to be willing to do that. Find a flat earther with a helicopter license, fly, and, please don't use over half your fuel, but fly until you find the edge of the dome. Please do so. But please don't use over half your fuel, because if you do, you're not making it back. Maybe that's for the best. I'm sorry, freaking CC.
But anyway, back to what I was talking about with the sun. This proves that there's a dome. That's what this proves.
So it's gone from there's no 24-hour sun in Antarctica, the sun sets, to afterwards, well, it proves the flat Earth. I don't know how that proves it's a flat Earth. It is inconceivable. It's just sort of this, well, no, that doesn't happen. That's not a thing. Well, here's the proof. Oh, well, that just proves I'm right. It is that childish response, that petulant child, which stamps its foot and says, no, that just proves my case. Oof.
That we are definitely in a container, that we're definitely in a reflective container reflecting all of these suns, and that's what you're seeing. One area, it goes around, and it just stays there for 24 hours. But I also think that God is telling that person who's down there, saying, come on, come a little further. There's something else to see over here. You're
Really? So we made predictions about this 24-hour sun, and so did the flat earthers. They all denied it. And, maybe there was one or two that didn't, but as far as I know, they all denied it. And then you're basically saying, well, no, that prediction, which it was shown that we were correct because it works on the globe Earth model and doesn't work on any flat Earth model that we've ever seen. If it does, please present it. But it shows that you're right, even though you're wrong about it. This is sort of real cope right here. This is just making stuff up in order to deal with it. And if it's reflections, how does that work? How does that work? I would like to know.
not done. You're not finished. It's not only the sun. You've got to continue on with your journey. Made it simple. It's all flat down there. You don't have any mountains to worry about or anything. You just go all flat land.
There's mountains in Antarctica. Are there mountains in Antarctica? I thought there were. Yeah, of course there are. What are you talking about, CC? There's no mountains in Antarctica. Yeah. It's so strange. I don't know where he gets his information from. I don't know what that looks like, but those are the Ellsworth Mountains. right? The Ellsworth Mountains. There are mountains in Antarctica. You know, just because what you see from the footage there is flat doesn't mean it's all flat. Those are mountains. They're in Antarctica. What? Where'd you get this information from? CC.
All the way to the ice wall. Now, remember, when we say ice wall, it's not where the shoreline is. The ice wall continues and gradually goes up. That's why it's the highest area in the entire world.
Is it? Can we find an edge of it? Or is that what the sun's telling us, to go and find the edge of the ice wall? Not the ice wall that we've seen in all the pictures where you've said, hey, that's the ice wall, because that's not the ice wall anymore. I mean, it's I would say shifting the goalpost, but it's like shifting the ice wall, isn't it? Like, I thought the ice wall was supposed to keep the ocean in. So all of this Antarctica is ice wall now. I get you. Yeah. I think he just listens to stuff online and believes whatever he wants to believe in. It's something.
The tallest area, shall we say, is the ice wall, and it's all.
Oh yeah, that's right. I've actually read that, Mark. I've definitely read that, mate. Yeah, the Mountains of Madness, and that was written in like the 20s or so, I believe. That was written ages ago.
All the way over by the dome. Anyway, it's an incredible thing to see. While I was looking at it, I have to say, the sun it looks kind of like a blob.
Actually, I don't think he should read that one, Mark. He's probably going to end up believing in fungi from Yuggis or something like that. You know, like I see a disaster waiting to happen.
Doesn't it? But you're recording it, so it's never going to look the way it looks with your own eyes. But I understand that. But
it looked pretty good. What?
It's good to see. Now we have raw data, of exactly what's going on down there, except the bullshit that we have, because we all, unfortunately, it looked like this thing was not going around in a circle. Nobody ever recorded it. All the scientific bullshit that they're doing down there, they never recorded the 20.
They never recorded. Look, 2 flat earthers had cameras set up there recording the 24-hour sun. Our sun final experiment. Like, this is the thing. He sort of says this of no one recorded it. I think it was Dave and Keegan that did it. Now, we'll do a time lapse, because if we do it in real time, and I'm not sure if CC understands this, but if we do it in real time, it'll take 24 hours. So I'm not sure if he'll understand that, though, right? I'm not sure if he'll understand that if we do it in real time, it'll take 24 hours. But check this out. 48 seconds. Ooh, uh-oh. Watch out, people. Watch out. No, it's going to set any second. Any second. Was that Whitset? Oh, what? It's going to set any second. Any second. Ah, so close. And it just keeps going. It just keeps going, mate. So the idea that they never filmed a 24-hour sun, multiple globe earthers did, multiple flat earthers did. That claim that they never filmed it is just ridiculous. Like, there was so much footage taken, and this may have come out while they were down there, because what happened was that they basically said, oh, we did the final experiment, And they sent back video going, yes, it's a 24-hour sun. We acknowledge that. Don't know the reason for it. This is the Austin and Jeranism, and there was somebody else. I think it was Costa was her name. I can't remember her name, but they sent back footage sort of saying, yes, it's a thing. All of this is real. We don't know why, but it definitely is real. We were wrong that the sun sets during this time at this location. Fair enough. And then all of the flat earthers said, yeah, but they haven't shown any footage. And, you know, if they were serious, they would have sent back footage. They don't have any kind of recording of it, kind of thing. It's sort of like, well, yeah, the bandwidth coming from Antarctica is very expensive and very limited because the infrastructure, what we call backhaul, right? So backhaul is the infrastructure that internet provider companies have for transmitting data to other internet provider companies. So if you're unfamiliar, the internet is basically made up of these providers all sending data to one another. That's basically what it is. And when you have an internet connection, you will have an address given to you by that provider that will know to send it to that provider using Border Gateway Protocol, and then down to you using some other protocol. Depends what it might be. IMGRP. Internet. IRGRP. What is the protocol? God, I've had a mental blank now. IMGRP. Routing protocol. Anyway, it'll use a routing protocol to send to you. Oh, that's really weird that I've forgotten that. An IGP. EIGRP. Yeah, EIGRP. I know it sounds like a children's song, like EIEIO, but it definitely is a thing, right? It's basically enhanced inter-gateway routing protocol. It basically will send it down to you, and then you receive it, kind of thing. And the internet is just made up of all these different companies. But because there's only research in Antarctica, there's no people actually like living there who are civilians. You know, we don't have the infrastructure. We don't have, you know, like a city with bakers and, you know, tons of people down there. That isn't a thing. There's no real infrastructure, which means it costs a lot and it's very limited to send data. So what happened is everybody cried, well, there's no footage. And then they came back and they could use their own connections, you know, the own infrastructure they had to upload the footage. And then suddenly there's all these footage, and then people like CC look like idiots because they're saying, hey, there's no footage, when clearly there is a ton. They showed him setting up Starlink. Yeah. And I didn't work for Starlink, but I worked for a company that had satellite internet. And you know, I had to discuss with technicians how to orientate the dish so it can actually reach the satellite, kind of thing. And you had a what's called a operations center, IOC or NOC, an International or National Operations Center, which would actually track the satellites and then send you the location so you could tell the technician where the hell the thing is. You know, it's just, you know, you work through all of that. You work through, hey, you know, this internet connection, this satellite connection isn't working. Why isn't it working? Do we have interference from any ambient device? Do we have cloud cover, for instance? Do we have the orientation to the satellite correctly, kind of thing? You work in this area, and you're sort of like, if they are faking it, it is just inconceivable. Like, what the hell? It's just so ridiculous. You know, when you look at a property in the middle of Australia with like nothing anywhere near it, like it has got nothing anywhere near it, and it's using satellite internet, and you're basically going, oh, well, it's a balloon. It's the most ridiculous thing, because you would have to have a balloon for every person, and it just doesn't work. Like, what happens to the balloon? And we monitor the internet to see if it goes down. Are you saying a balloon sits there all the time and is just that steady? It's not.
24-hour sun. They've given us clips of bullshit. That's it.
Take care. Oh, I will. Are you off? Not a problem, mate. You take care too. You take care too. Oh, different mark. No, that's fair. That's fair. No problem, Mark. Take care, my friend. Take care.
You know, we finally got it, and that's great. But once again, it's a reflection. The main source is, now I'm starting to think, after seeing this, the main source might be outside the dome, and it's actually, could be. I don't know. It's hard to explain. In fact,
well, it's not hard to explain. It's only hard to explain if the world is a flat plane, like you've been saying it is. It's actually really easy to explain if the world is a globe, like we've been claiming all this time. There's no problem explaining it because the world isn't a flat disk. That's the problem. The only way it's hard to explain is because it kind of is inexplicable for flat Earth, right? I mean, I can try and find a good picture of it, kind of thing, maybe, to sort of show you. Well, here's one for the Northern Hemisphere. I can use this one and just, reverse it, essentially. So this is basically how it works, right? And this is how it works in the Northern Hemisphere when you have 24-hour days and you get 24-hour dark in the Southern Hemisphere. And in the winter for the Northern Hemisphere, the same as the true, you get 24-hour darkness in the Arctic Circle and 24-hour light in Antarctica. So that's how it works. It's very easy. It's explainable very, very, very easily. It's just the tilt of the Earth means that section on top or the section on bottom, all you'd have to do is, hang on a sec, can I copy the image? That's okay. I just flip it upside down, basically. That's how it works. It's really easy to explain on a globe Earth. I'm sorry it's hard to explain on a flat Earth, but that's the problem. It doesn't work on a flat Earth. It's the reason why we did this, because the flat Earthers had to say that the sun set on a flat Earth because that's the only way it works. And so this shows that they are wrong. Oops.
With the sun. I know we have our own sun. Each of us have our own perspective of looking at the sun. That can't work with a star. It's impossible for that to work with a star. Just impossible.
That can't work with a star. I'm not sure what he means by that. The sun is a star. The sun's literally a star. It's just another star in the sky. It's just a hell of a lot closer than the other stars. It's not even a particularly bright star. It's just that one is really, really close, relatively speaking to the rest of the other stars in the sky. I don't.
Possible. You couldn't drive a mile and see it in a totally different area. And I see it there, and a mile down, I see it over there, or not even. You can go maybe 100 feet or 50 feet, and you're seeing it in a totally different area in the sky. And that's the same as the moon.
I'm sorry, you can go 50 feet and see the sun in a totally different area of the sky. I don't think that's true. I mean, it does move across the sky, like, so if you wait an hour, maybe, but I don't know what he means by that. Like, it's just parallax. It's going to be basically in this. Like, do you think if you drive across town, the sun is in a different spot in the sky? I don't. It's very, very strange. It's like what's happening is everything close is moving relative to where that sun is. It's not moving in the sky. Yeah, no, I'm with you, Phantom. I don't think he understands parallax, that when you move, something's far away and you move, the closer stuff appears to move in relation to it. Like, so if you've got a say a tree really far away, and then you've got maybe a fence post that's closer or something, like right next to you, and you move to the other side of it, it will change to the other side of the tree. But that's just, the thing that is closer is the one that your perspective is changing on. It's not the thing further away changing its location. That stays in the same place. It's really weird. I don't know.
It's absolutely incredible. Now, but politics. David Newsom, is that his name? The mayor of California, who's destroyed California, is a candidacy for the Democrats for the 2028 voting. I mean, this is how stupid politics are. All right. This guy has single-handedly turned California into a fucking war zone where San Francisco isn't even livable. Businesses can't even last out there. New York City is slowly turning into that, but we're coming back now. The city will be back. Mark my words.
I don't know. I don't know who Newsom is. I wasn't aware that San Francisco was unlivable. I know that cost of living is really bad, but that's the same all over the planet. I don't think that's unique to San Francisco. There's certainly people in the southern states, really getting it rough as well. I don't understand what that's got to do with Newsom. As far as I know, it's a pretty desirable place to live. It might have high housing costs and things like that, but generally high housing costs are when people want to live there, not when you don't. I don't know. It's weird. I don't know. Gavin Newsom. Okay. I don't know who that is. Who is Gavin Newsom? Gavin Newsom. American politician and businessman, 40th governor. Okay, so he's angry at the governor of California. Does he live in California? Probably. No, he doesn't even live in California because he says he's from Westchester County, New York. So why has Newsom made it unlivable? What the hell is that all about? Is it just because he's running? He's like this, said that he may run for presidency, that he's just angry at him? Is it like cannabis legalization, maybe? I don't know why it's suddenly unlivable. I mean, California's always been a very, I mean, it can be costly to live there. I'm aware of that. I'm aware that it does have a sort of some areas that are very, very expensive, because Hollywood and, the Silicon Valley and things like that. But I don't know. Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, okay, he blames the governor. As far as I was aware, it was like that for quite some time.
And all the bullshit with Hollywood, all the bullshit with NASA, all the stuff that's going on.
What's NASA done now? I don't know what NASA's done now. It's weird. All the bullshit with NASA. This seems to be more of his more conspiracy stuff.
Around you, it's all fake news. The drones, they're passing a law. There's a law that's going to be disappearing. They're trying to rewrite the law again for the December 20th, which is today. Okay. These drones that are out there, I don't know what the hell they're doing. I've yet to see one. I don't know. You know, people are speculating they're UFOs. They're trying, guys. They're trying. I know. They're trying to do the UFO thing. But
the government is not saying that drones are UFOs. I don't know what he's talking about. When he says people, he'll talk about the government and then he'll say people say. So it gets blurry with this guy, whether the government's saying something or whether he's just listened to some rando off the street. That's our term for that's an Australianism you can use. It's our term for a random person is a rando. I don't know if you've ever used that one. I think it's Australian. I don't know. Just a rando, just a rando off the street. So I don't know what he's sort of saying, kind of thing.
Until you do it on Independence Day, no one's going to believe that fucking drone up there is going to give them harm. This little thing, it's 4 feet tall. 4 feet long. Who the fuck cares? Oh, man. Fucking drones in New Jersey.
Oh, that's nice to know. Rando's a great word, yeah.
Jersey. What was that Orson Welles radio show? Didn't that take place in New Jersey?
War of the Worlds. War of the Worlds famously took place in England. Famously. I'm pretty sure that was England, wasn't it? I could be wrong. I thought H.G. But it's H.G. Wells, yes, not Orson Welles. And there was a radio show that actually panicked people because it was kind of like a troll. They didn't actually tell people that it was just a radio show, and so the people panicked and all hell broke loose because people thought it was actually an alien invasion. But I thought it was in England, not in I mean, even they talked about playing cricket kind of thing in War of the Worlds. Like, seriously. War of the Worlds radio host. Oh, it was CBS. Okay. It was CBS. And NBC turned War of the Worlds. Oh yeah, unusual explosions by a seemingly unrelated report of an unknown object falling on a farm in Grovers, New Jersey. Okay, it was New Jersey. There you go. Hey, CC knew something I didn't. Well done, mate. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I know that the original thing was written about England. And what happened? The show went to air shortly after 8 p.m. Eastern Time. At 8:32, Houseman noticed Taylor step out of the studio to take a telephone call in the control room, who returned 4 minutes later looking pale as death, as he had been ordered to immediately interrupt the War of the Worlds broadcast with an announcement of the program's fictional content. By the time the order was given, the fictional news reporter played by Ray Collins was choking on poison gas as the Martians overwhelmed New York. It was less than a minute away from its first scheduled break. A few policemen trickled in and then a few more. So the room was full of policemen and a massive struggle was going on between the police page boys, which are the, got like young men working at the paper, and CBS executives who were trying to prevent the cops from busting in and stopping the show. It was a show to witness. They raided the broadcast center. Some listeners heard only a portion of the broadcast, and in the tension and anxiety prior to World War II, mistook it for a genuine news broadcast. Thousands of them shared the false reports with others or called CBS newspapers or the police to ask if the broadcast was real. Many newspapers assumed that the large number of phone calls and the scattered report of listeners rushing about or fleeing their homes proved the existence of a mass panic, but such behavior was never widespread. In concrete, Washington phone lines and electricity suffered a short circuit at the Superior Portland Cemeteries Company substation. Residents were unable to call neighbors, friends, or family to calm their fears. Reporters who heard of the coincidental blackout sent the story over the newswire, and concrete was known worldwide. Yeah, so a lot of people were so afraid by this, like, sort of fabricated news story. But Cece's talking like, oh, they tried to fool people that it was real. No, they didn't. They had a fictional broadcast that people only heard part of, and they thought it was real, which is kind of irresponsible, right? Like, you sort of go, well, if you're pretending to do a broadcast of something, you might want to, do a disclaimer. But, this is the times of radio. Now we can just turn it on. Turn on the internet and check to see whether a story is real. But, like, if you heard only part of a just say something telling you the world was ending, and then you just happened to have a blackout, that even though you try to be rational about it, that would scare the crap out of you. So, yeah, it's sort of that they never wanted people to believe it was a real invasion. It was just a entertainment thing.
Didn't it? See, they're trying, guys. They're rubbing it in your face. They're the radio station that yes, that's right. It was done in New Jersey.
Yeah, but it was an entertainment thing. Like, it wasn't supposed to be a news presentation, right? It wasn't supposed to be. It wasn't done on a news channel. It wasn't like the news telling you this. That wasn't the news. It was an entertainment channel, right? It was part of the CBS radio series, The Mercury Theatre on Air, right? That isn't a news program, CC.
It's so much fun. It really is. There's so much shit with
yeah, I would imagine so, sure.
If you just open your eyes, and you look and you see what's going on with everything around you, and you look at the fakeness of this ball that they lied to you about all of this time, you'll finally figure out that something's wrong. It doesn't make any sense. Why would they be feeding this to our children so you can live with it the rest of your life thinking that you live on a spinning wet ball?
Because we do. That's the thing. That's the concept that you haven't wrapped your mind around. You're like, oh, it's so hard to make this 24-hour sun work on a flat earth because it's not flat. Why do we keep telling the children this? Because it is an oblate spheroid. That's why. It's because it's actually the truth. But the problem is that CC just can't accept it because he's tied his religious belief to the shape of the earth. And so it is a dogmatic belief. It is inerrant. It is unfalsifiable. It is unable to be changed, even though the reality around us does not support it. And it's kind of sad. It is sad. And see him as he's getting angry because he's afraid that what, his God belief is all in vain. And he's saying, having a spherical earth does not disprove a God in any way. Like, you can still, plenty of people still believe in God, and they, MC Toon is a theist, and I respect him a lot. He's one of the best globe proponents out there, and he believes in a God, and that's fine. It doesn't stop you. It's just he's tied it, his God belief, to a flat earth, and it's kind of sad.
You're insignificant. You're not a person of God, that you don't have potential, that you're nothing.
you know, this whole idea that we're nothing if we're not the center of the universe, I think it's really wrong. The potential that humans have is amazing, but we've got to be honest and say, are we working towards a potential that, you know, will work or not? Like, are we being, are we using our resources in a way that is going to be renewable and extendable into the future, or are we squandering them? Are we doing things that might stuff us up? The problem with CC is he's going to go, well, I don't want to change because there's going to be a rapture and we're going to be taken up to heaven and everything will be fine. But I don't believe that. So, you know, it's kind of this really unsettling feeling that I'm left with, that you don't care if the world goes to crap because you think there's a better one for you in the future.
In life. I look at globe earthers as this right now, you know, just like as the presidency, you know, describing that, you know, if you believe you're going to.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point, Carlos. That's a really good point. You know, life is so rare in the universe. Like, we're only aware of one instance of life anywhere. And there may be others, but, you know, this universe is vast. Life is so rare, it makes it sort of infinitely precious. And I get you. I really do.
Vote for Biden, you're believing in a person who is destructive and wants to destroy the country, which he's done, you know, basically. So you believe in that, you know. Now, in the flat earth my mind and many others, continuously believing in the globe hurts the children. Okay. And that's the most important thing.
How does it hurt the children? I really want to know. Because we're not doing it out of any kind of religious sentiment or any kind of belief system. We are doing it because that is where all of the scientific research points to. Like, there's so many people working on this for so long, and we've known this forever. Like, we've known it since ancient Egyptian days. We've known it for ages. The Greeks knew about it. Everybody's known about it. But you have tied the shape of the earth to your religious conviction. So nothing anybody will show you will ever convince you differently, because you have a dogmatic belief. It cannot be wrong that God exists and the earth is flat because that's what the Bible says. It's tied together. I don't know what you're supposed to do with something like that.
Of it all is that the children are being lied to. Okay. And
yeah, and that's a real good point, Archer. I think he just revealed his fear. He's afraid of being insignificant. He's afraid his life doesn't or won't matter. He's afraid of obsolescence, which is really weird because he does something that's really valuable. He drives people who cannot drive themselves to places they need to go to do what they have to do. Finding meaning in things, finding some form of meaning in what you're doing is really important, even if it's just for your own pleasure. The meaning of, you know, I mean, I've worked in jobs that have been insanely difficult, and, you know, I could justify working there because I'm helping people fix their internet or resolve something that seems to be unresolvable. Just you know, that tiny sliver of I've got some meaning there. I'm doing something. Nobody is capable of just changing the world. We're all just doing small things in our own way to help. I feel really privileged to be able to sit and talk and sort of profess a point of view and try in some tiny way to make the world better. It's not a massive thing, but it's something, and I can sit in that. I can find comfort in that. I can find a respect for myself in that, even if it's just tiny and like me shouting out to a void where nobody's listening. That's fine. I can sit in that and I can say, hey, that is value to me. Yeah.
They're being grown up and brainwashed to believe all of this, to think that they're insignificant and that they have to be. I mean, look at the society at this point. This is how pathetic society is.
Yeah, he's so angry at our society. And look, I understand why. I really understand why. You know, I sympathize. Sympathize is a bad word. I empathize with why he's angry at society. You know, the society that we have built, where it's kind of companies are prioritized, but by design, to try to accrue as much resources and finance as possible in order to provide that for the people that invested in them at the cost of real human beings. I think that Luigi and the sort of, you know, the really extreme reaction to the healthcare system is emblematic of that. We know there's something wrong there. When a company is prioritizing profits over human lives, we all know something's wrong. We all do. Yes, something is wrong there. When you have people not allowed to speak out about company, you know, a certain social media company that may or may not be run by the richest person in the world, or else they'll get sued into the ground and probably made homeless and out on the street. We know there's something wrong there. I know what he means. Like, something is wrong there. But sort of believing in something that you have no evidence for, and that, you know, conflicts with the observations that we make of the world around us because you wish the world were different, is not the way to address those problems. And, you know, a lot of people take comfort that, hey, the society sucks, but it's going to end and God is going to take over. And that is a sort of appeal to emotion. It's appeal to saying, hey, we you know, we don't, this sucks, but it's all going to be better. The problem with that is that you actually ignore anything that you could possibly do about the problems, and instead just go, well, it'll take care of itself. Will it? I mean, I saw one response to I think it was Matt Powell. I did a thing on Matt Powell because it was the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And he's like, the problem of evil is atheists, because if there is no God, none of the wrongs will be righted in the end. And it's like, well, that, like, just because none of the wrongs are righted, it doesn't mean that it's true. But you can't say, oh, because I want everything to mean something, there has to be a God. That's sort of an argument from consequence. It's an appeal to, well, wouldn't it be nice if everything was made good in the end? Yeah, it would be nice, but do we actually have evidence for that? Because if we don't, what we're doing is sitting here and surrendering our ability to do anything because we think that our imaginary friend is going to make everything okay someday. And so we release all of the power that we have to change our world, society, our communities, everything, and say, nope, it's out of our hands. And I don't want that to happen. I want to be able to say, hey, I may not be doing a lot for the world, but I'm doing something. You know, when we see the world around us and say, you know, somebody should do something, I'm doing something. It's not a lot, but I'm doing something. Mind that meme. It's something. So welcome to the channel. You're going to get a lot of this. Yeah, I think so. I absolutely think so. You know, it helps cope with the harshness. Like, yeah. And look, you know, I get that believing in something that may not be true can help with the harshness of life. I get that. I really do. But we're seeing some of the problems with what religion does to people. We're seeing some of the problems. Religious trauma is a thing. It's not in the DRM, but it definitely is a thing. It is horrendous what people go through. The fear, the anxiety over what may happen after you're gone. It's really upsetting, and it's really hard to watch and hear. It is horrible. So somebody asked me the other day, do you think religion does a net positive? And I say no. No, absolutely not.
You can have a girl who's 22, who's semi-attractive, and start talking about a certain member of a person's body and spitting on it. And then all of a sudden she comes.
Is CC talking about the hot tour girl? Is he seriously talking about the hot tour girl? Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. He's really upset by this. He's really upset. I don't know why. I don't know why. I mean, so what? I mean, she just became a meme. Sometimes it doesn't work out for the best. Some people that become memes are just, look, a guy became famous because, like, you know the Harold picture? I think it was Hide the Pain Harold from memory. Yeah, that's him. Right, so this picture is Hide the Pain Harold. Now, apparently that was just some random, I think he was Dutch, like from the Netherlands. He was just some random dude. And he says, like, people notice him all the time, and it hasn't necessarily been a good thing, you know? Like, it's just, it is what it's a meme. It just became a meme. Oh, she's a crypto fraud now? All right, well, I mean, that's a problem. Really? Really? I mean, I didn't really follow her, or, you know, I mean, I just knew she was a meme. Girl, where now? Oh, it's over after a coin launch? Meme coin launch. Oh, dear. Cryptocurrent just bombed. It was the Hawk token. Was a victim of the rug pull, where snipers who buy up the asset when it's cheaper and instantly sell it when it's more expensive. Asmongold hit out at the alleged rug pull. Yeah, okay. Was it really her fault? It was something that she was responsible for, whether it was her fault or something to be decided in court. But in the eyes of the public, absolutely. Yeah, So is it somebody's fault if opportunistic crypto bros go in, buy it when it's low, and then dump it when it's high? Well, it is illegal if it's an orchestrated insider trading thing, right? So it is illegal if you're basically working to do exactly that. If the coin is set up to be that, right? Because some people set up crypto coins. So what basically happens, if you're unfamiliar with a pump and dump, basically a group of people will buy the cryptocurrency when it's really low, right? They'll eat it up when it's really low. And because it's in high demand and selling really well, the demand for it goes up, and therefore the price rises. That's basically how stocks work. The more demand of the stock, the higher it will rise, kind of thing. At least in crypto, there's a lot more to it when it's normal stocks, because the value of the company and all of this other stuff. But for crypto, that's basically how it works. So the value rises, and when it hits a certain amount of time, those people that all went in on it low, they basically have already agreed to share when to sell it, right? So they'll basically pre-plan a selling it all together to dump all the stock at the same time, and people will buy it up, kind of thing. So people are buying it while it rises, kind of thing, and then the people that got it originally will just offload it all at once. And what happens is, because it suddenly becomes available in vast quantities due to these people, it will basically drop. The value of it will drop. The problem comes that everybody that bought it going up, and everybody that bought it while the crypto bros were selling it, thinking it was going to rise higher, suddenly have an almost worthless thing on their hands. And then sometimes what they do is they then repeat it all again, because, you know, once it drops to nothing, people go, well, I got to get rid of this stuff that I've been saddled with, and they'll sell it for cheap, and then they just buy it and do it again. And you're right, Sarah Quill. The crypto isn't well regulated. On normal stock markets, that would be insider trading. It would be a case where that would be a concerted effort in order to commit fraud or pump and dump schemes, kind of thing. Although even on stock market, it kind of, you know, it's very hard to show that there is an orchestrated, you know, conspiracy to actually do a pump and dump scheme. But on crypto, it's less regulated, and it happens a lot. And this woman's put out a Bitcoin, and obviously people have done that. Now, whether or not she's responsible, because if a whole bunch of crypto bros decide to do that to your coin, there's not a lot you can do to stop them. But so if they all decide, hey, we're going to do it to this currency, how do you stop them from buying the stock and then all selling it about the same time? It's very, very difficult. So whether that's her fault or not is a bit up in the air. If she knew that they were doing that, if she said, hey, let's use the coin for this, or let's, you know, I'm putting it in for this amount, and then you can sell it for that amount and do it all at the same time, then she might be absolutely responsible for it. But it, you know, it's very hard to think. Is that what happened with the Robin Hood thing? Well, the Robin Hood thing was that was the GameStop fiasco kind of thing. So GameStop was a bit different, because that, as a meme stock, it was basically, what happened there was that a whole bunch of hedge funds, right? And hedge funds managers are notorious for doing this. They basically had shorted GameStop stock, basically, on the stock market. So GameStop stock. So that's really hard to say, just saying. So basically what they had done is shorting is kind of a bit difficult to explain, but basically you're making a bet saying, hey, that stock is going to lower, and the lower that stock goes, the higher yours goes, right? You're basically shorting it. You're basically saying, hey, it's going to drop in value, and the lower it goes, the higher your short stock is worth. So what happened then is a whole bunch of gamers, because what they were doing was the hedge fund managers, they were basically almost manipulating GameStop stock. By shorting it, you're basically reducing the demand for the stock. You're basically saying, hey, it's gonna flatten out. So a whole bunch of gamers got together and they bought stock in GameStop, right? So what happened was that people said, hey, it was going to end. We're going to put all this money on the line saying it's going to go down, and hang like vultures over GameStop waiting for it to fail. So what some gamers did is they all bought the stock, making the price go up, making the price rise, right? And they used a program that the gamers buying the stock used a program called Robinhood to do so. It's sort of an independent platform for buying stock, because they didn't want to go through stockbrokers and things like that, because they're opposed to the system. They used this app to do it. But everybody bought this stock and it fired through the roof, making the hedge fund managers lose a lot of money. because they had bet the stock would go down, right? So it really screwed with these hedge fund managers. Now, what happened was that Robinhood stopped people buying the stock. They closed down the sales of that, which is really weird and unsettling, but that's all I know about it. I don't know what happened after there. I don't think that GameStop is going to continue onwards. I don't think they've got a business model that will really compete with these online markets like Steam and Epic Store and all of these online markets kind of thing. I think it's going to be very difficult for them. But it was more a big mid-digit to all of the people shorting the stock of a games company than it was to make money kind of thing, right? Making money wasn't the goal of this, like a pump and dump is. It was to hurt the hedge fund vultures that prey on companies going out of business. That was what the intention was. So it is a bit different, aren't you? Well, that was a long explanation. Sorry for that. I will keep on going.
Becomes an overnight success overnight. That's the society we're living in. Okay. So that's the mentality of the people that we're living in.
Well, CC, you're quite famous yourself. You're quite infamous yourself. And so the thing is, fame isn't necessarily a good thing. I mean, is it good that you're the Hock tour girl on your resume? Maybe not. Can you make a crypto coin out of it? Obviously you can. Will that crypto coin do well? Obviously, necessarily not. Like this isn't a case of, well, fame is automatically a good thing. A, it depends what it's for. And B, it depends on what happens to you after that happens or what you use that fame for. Like you're looking like, oh, being famous is amazing. No, it's not. It depends on what it's for and what you do with it that's important.
That's how they think. And that's how sad it really is. You know, and it disturbs me. It really does.
Yeah, but you're sitting here talking about her. So you are, in fact, contributing to the problem of the Hock tour girl by sitting here talking about her. That's how people become famous. They're talked about. They occupy a place in our conversation. That's how people do become famous. So how do you justify sitting here talking about it? You're just angry that a 29-year-old girl got famous while you're sitting here in a car with nobody really listening to you. And I mean, yeah, that's a you problem, CC. I'm really sorry, but that is a you problem. I don't know. It's weird.
Society that's ridiculous. You see, we're intrigued. Flat earthers, we're all intrigued with things. Just like, for example, when you're in the bathroom, the ones that have been set up for the ambulatory bathrooms for the wheelchairs, and there's that little thing on the side, that little chain. It looks like a light switch, but there's actually a chain sticking out. What happens when you press it? Does somebody actually come out, or does the ambulance come? I've always been curious about that. I want to see. I don't know. I want to do it. I want to just pull the switch, and I want to see what happens. Is somebody going to come running to the rescue? Is SWAT going to come out? What happens?
Yeah, someone will come and check to see if you're okay. I would hope so. I do know of people that have had to use that. It's like the same as saying, well, the nurse call button, does a nurse come and actually check on you? Yes, they do. That's why it's there. Even if it's a handicapped bathroom in a company, like you will have somebody who gets an alert and comes and checks. They test to see if these things work, right? We have drills to test them. Like we will go, a engineer will, or a maintenance guy will go and check to see if the alarm is working. So yeah, it does. And yeah, I'm not saying there's no instance where someone isn't monitoring the alarm. Someone ought to be. And yes, someone ought to come and check to see what is happening. In the places I've worked that have had handicapped toilets, it actually goes to reception, and the receptionist comes and checks and asks if you're all right. If they don't hear anything, whoever's the designated first aid officer will come. People will help you. That's why it's there. Wow. Okay. Wow.
See, we're curious about all of this stuff, okay? And that's why we're flat earthers, because we finally figured out that we've been lied to.
Well, pull a fire alarm. Well, don't do that. That's a bad idea. But you know that pulling a fire alarm, the fire department. What the hell?
That none of this is real. That it's all bullshit. And it's great.
Yeah, I feel like he's terribly unhappy with his life, and so he has to sort of go, oh, it's all bullshit. All of it's bullshit. It doesn't, all of this is just not real. I feel for him. I do. It must be really upsetting to be that unhappy to go, well, it's just I'm not going to believe it's real. It's all just fake. I mean, he probably thinks he's like the Truman Show kind of thing, Everyone's NPCs, you're the main character, everything's fake around you. Doesn't it sound like Truman Show? It really does sound like Truman Show. They're all trying to fool you. It really does.
It is absolutely wonderful. Anyway.
Yeah, right on, Joe. Yeah. And I'm sorry you have to wait a while. It shouldn't be like that. But yeah, someone will try to help, like they're there for a reason. They're not there by accident or to fool you into thinking they do something. I don't know why we would even do that.
I thank you for subbing. I thank you for viewing my videos. Let me be a part of your life.
Okay. Well, yeah, and it kind of, to me, it does feel like that Truman Show-esque thing, like putting it all together. What is my camera doing? Hello, camera? It does feel like that Truman Show-esque thing, that everything's fake around you, everybody's NPCs, they're all trying to fool you, they're all trying to make you think this is real. And there's another piece of the puzzle. The flat Earth 24-hour or the setting sun on Antarctica flat Earth has been debunked. The not able to go beneath the 60th. I mean, for how long did we hear you're not allowed to go below the 66th parallel? The Army and the Navy and the Air Force will turn you back, and nobody's ever stepped foot on Antarctica. How long did we hear that? And suddenly it's like, oh, well, they were there, but it's a reflection. Moving the goalpost, moving the ice wall. Oh, that isn't the actual ice wall. The ice wall goes up. You just have to follow that sun because God wants you to find out what's there. I hate to tell you this, man. We've found out what's there. We've mapped it. It's not a mystery anymore. It's just you don't want it to be real. It's wild. It really is wild for them to say all of this stuff. And they don't really, and what gets me is they don't really acknowledge that they were wrong. They don't say, hey, yeah, we were wrong about the 24-hour sun, except for the flat earthers that were there. The others are just going, well, let's move on to the next thing. The sun doesn't show that the earth's not flat in any way. Well, explanation, ridiculous explanation. And like CC says, it's so hard to justify how it works on a flat earth. Yeah, there's a reason for that. It's because it's not flat. That's the reason. But yeah, I better wrap up. I have been going a bit long. I do apologize. But hey, if you're out there and you feels bad or you're not having the greatest time, look, I know the holiday season is really stressful and it can be really tough. Really, really tough. And I understand that. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable. Don't be afraid to talk to people. I do have a Discord. If you want to hit me up and, is there anything I can do to help, let me know. I really feel for everybody. I've been through some tough situations and I don't judge people for reaching out when they're doing badly. To me, it shows courage. It shows amazing courage to reach out when you are at your most vulnerable, knowing that someone might stamp on you in that time. And look, yeah, I've been scared of that too. I'm feeling vulnerable, I'm feeling hurt, I'm feeling upset, I'm feeling angry, I'm feeling all of this stuff. And the last thing I want to do is reach out to say, hey, I'm not doing okay. I'm struggling, and have someone say, yeah, because you suck. That is a harsh feeling, and I get it. And so I admire the courage of someone not afraid or overcoming that fear to say, I'm going to be honest about how I'm doing. It's a beautiful thing. And I would encourage you to support people who are willing to do that, because that's what this community is all about. You're not on your own. And we have to be in this society, in this world together. It's the only way. This world, this universe, this planet, it's too harsh to be alone on. But you don't have to be alone. Okay, so much love to everybody. Be kind to yourself. Okay, just be kind to yourself. When you have that vulnerable child part of you feeling really put upon and really upset by what's happening, be kind to that child. At the same time, when your critical parent, your critical part is beating up on that vulnerable child and it's going, you suck and nothing you do ever matters and you're worthless, be in that healthy adult that says, no, that's not true. Right? You need to be kinder to yourself. Okay? Be kind to yourself. Be kind to each other, and I will see you in the next one. Take care. Happy holidays, and I hope you have a fantastic time. Oh, look, Andrew, much love, man. Seriously, I'm really impressed. You are a courageous person, and I am. I'm impressed. It's something very cool. And all of this. So you may be wondering why I'm on this big mental health sort of track at the moment. And as I said at the start, I watched this video that has absolutely touched me. It was a song called Hi Ren. If you have not seen it, full disclosure, it does deal with mental health issues. It does deal with harm to oneself. It does deal with a lot of different things. It does have some religious connotations, but I think as the artist is agnostic, I think that artist is really using it for imagery rather than anything serious. But it is something that I've never seen my schema therapy presented so well ever. So thank you so much, everybody. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.